It's early May, and the surf is starting to come alive as the first reports of striped bass, drum, and bluefish start trickling in. As the action shifts from the bay to the beaches, it's time to trade backwaters for open sand. I've been struggling to find fish the past few outings, but I'm back to the surf to see if things finally turn around.
Yes, sir, that's a little striped bass. Let's go, first of the year. I set my alarm for 4 a.m. this morning and then woke up 3 hours later at 7 a.m. So got a late jump, but I'm just getting down here right now and we should still be able to catch the incoming tide. So I'm gonna get some bait and then get on the beach so we can get fishing. The minute I get to my first spot, it starts pouring, but it looks like it should just be a passing shower. So we're gonna wait this out and see if it goes away. Well, now the rain stopped, so that means it's time to get fishing. We're doing some bait fishing today, so I've got my two heavier setups. I got a 10-foot and I got a 9-foot, and these can hold a little bit of heavier weights, so that's why we're using these today. These south winds are cranking right now. It's actually like the weather can't make up its mind. 1 second it was raining, then it's sunny, and now it's kind of chilly and really windy, so we're gonna work with what we got. Last year, around this same time, when it was really rainy and really windy, we had a great day on the water. So I'm kind of hoping for the same thing to happen today, but we'll see. So I got some clam and some bunker for today just to see which one seems to perform better. But these were kind of open, not in the greatest of shape, but they're still in the shell, which is preferred over the frozen if you can find it. But basically what I'm doing is I'm just opening up the clam and scraping out all the insides to it so that we have this giant chunk right here. As for how to put this clam on the hook, you want to string it through a bunch of times because these things fly off pretty easily. String it up the hook, and then there's this kind of like tongue part. This is a little bit harder than the rest of it. This is how I like to end it on. I like to make sure that I do the tongue part last. And then take out your trusty clam tie, and we're just gonna wrap this around a bunch of times over the hook so that this stays on. So I usually like to start at the top, just spin it around, give it a lot of wraps, and then go down the clam. You want this to be pretty tight. Make sure that that hook point is exposed. And then I go down to the bottom, wrap that a bunch of times, and then once more I'll go back around the rest of the clam, end it at the top, and then you're just going to yank the thread and you're all set up. Now that's going to stay on there pretty well. So I'm standing at this hole right here. Again, it's high tide, and I'm not going to cast very far, just right into that little trough right there. Bass love that white water that you see out there. That's where they like to feed when all that bait is kind of getting pushed around. So that's a good spot to land your bait. Then I'm just going to walk this back, drop it in the rod holder, close the bail, tighten down a little bit, and then I'm going to let that drag out so that if a fish does come along, it doesn't feel that resistance. So on the other rod, I'm going to put a piece of bunker on there, and I'm just going to chop it into little bits. All right, here we go. We got this nice little bunker chunk to start the day out, and we're just going to put it through the back. You can use some clam tie on this too, but the bunker was pretty fresh, so it should stay on the hook pretty well. All right, next order of business is to just cast this out. Again, don't need to launch it a million miles. It's right into the trough right there. There we go. That's a fish. Doesn't feel very big, but it's a fish. Oh shoot, it's a dogfish. Oh, first of those of the year. Wouldn't be a surf fishing session without one of these guys, but this guy's pretty big actually. But he's going back. After catching that dogfish, I decided to move down a little bit and find a new hole with some better whitewater. So I'm fishing this new spot and hopefully that gets me something other than a dogfish. Bring me back something that's not a dogfish. I just had some kind of bite on the bunker rod. I'm gonna venture to guess it was a dogfish the way it was tapping. What I've noticed is that dogfish kind of like mess around with it a little bit. They'll tap, tap, tap. Whereas striper and bluefish tend to just like take it and run and rip it. Otherwise, no bites, so I'm gonna try to come up with some kind of plan for later on in the day.
And for the next 3 hours, I didn't get a single bite. Time for a little break.
I took a little lunch break because I hadn't eaten all day, got some stuff to fish for the night, and now we're headed back out to the surf to hopefully catch some of these sundown fish. The tide's still outgoing, and I think the low tide is around 7 p.m., so we'll see what happens. We'll give it our best shot, and I'll catch you out there. All right, bunker rod going out first. Again, not going out too far. We're hitting pretty much dead low tide here, and you can kind of see how this surf shakes out. So over there, it's definitely a shallower sandbar. And then as you move across to this middle section right here, the waves kind of roll through, and that's how you can tell there's a little bit of deeper water between here and the first sandbar. So that kind of goes all the way down to the right here, and then eventually a little ways down, there's another more shallow area sandbar down there. So that's why I'm fishing right here, and really would think that it would provide some fish, but just no luck yet.
So I've been out here a little over 2 hours and I haven't gotten a single hit just yet, but that sun is starting to go down. I'm hoping that activates some kind of bite, but we'll see what happens, and we're gonna keep fishing hard. Day slowly faded into night without a single sign of life, but I wasn't ready to give up, so I shifted gears and headed bayside, hoping the night bite might change my luck. I cast out a fresh clam into the darkness with only hope on my side. The lights on the pier brought small forms of life within close proximity, but the big fish that lurked the nighttime waters were yet to be found. After braving the cold, harsh winds and my optimism diminishing, I decided to call it a night. I gave the night bite about 2.5 hours, but I started to get freezing cold from that wind, and I just hit this wall of tiredness. And with that, I called it a night. But tomorrow, we're gonna get back out there and do it all again, and hopefully we'll get some fish.
This is my second day out here, and I just got a fresh batch of clams. They got some more in the tackle shop last night, so I wanted to refresh my stock a little bit. But hopefully, this is the key to catching at least something before we end the weekend. Another thing to note, it's Sunday, May 4th, so that actually means today is the fluke opener. But me personally, I can't start thinking about fluke until I've caught a striped bass, so hopefully we can get that done.
What started as a nice morning quickly turned into a windy and rainy afternoon, and as the trend of not catching any fish continued, I trudged off the beach bogged down with wet clothes and gear with not much hope left in the tank.
I showered and got clean, so I didn't really feel like heading back out to the surf, but I'm giving it one last ditch effort. I'm at a bridge right now on Bayside, and I'm doing the laziest form of fishing, which is sitting in my truck and just watching my rods from the outside. Which, by the way, I did get a new truck, a new fishing mobile. I'm trying to decide what to call it. I think since it's black, I might want to call it the Tautog or something related, something funny related to blackfish. I think that'd be kind of cool. The salesman was an awesome dude. His name is Dave B, and he actually has a YouTube channel, which is Dave B Sells Chevys. So if you're into Chevys, if you're into cars, any car dealership related stuff, go give him a subscribe, check him out. I'll leave his link in the description below. Well, I'll consider that a catch. Pretty big sized blue crab. Won't let go.
By this point, I was ready to call it. It had been a long weekend and I was running on empty, but something in me wasn't ready to leave. I had to try one last spot. And well, I'm sure glad I did.
Oh, finally. Yes, guys, we got it. We got a fish. Oh my gosh. Waited all weekend for this. Let's go. see what it is. Is that a little bass? Yes, sir. That's a little striped bass. Let's go. First of the year. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Whoa. All right. Didn't expect to fight round two.
And finally, after countless hours of coming up empty, this little fish changed everything. Filled with a sense of accomplishment, it finally felt right to call the trip a success and head home. Many of us are weekend warriors, working 9 to 5s and trying to make the most of the small window we get to fish. We get out when we can, sometimes having to ignore tides and weather. This trip represents the majority of trips throughout the year, an absolute grind. Hours spent casting into the unknown with discouragement and doubt creeping in. You start wondering if you're just wasting your time. But when it finally all comes together, even for just one fish, it reminds you why you keep coming back. Fishing is about the pursuit, the journey, the challenge. And the fish? Well, they're just a bonus.